Hi everybody, this is David Fraser here from Bunkie Life, and I wanted to talk about that infamous question, do I need a building permit? And of course the question is, as always, when dealing with government, that depends. And unfortunately it depends on a few different things. At the higher level, we have the Ontario Building Code. And according to Ontario, a building permit is not required for a structure occupying less than 10 square meters, which is roughly 108 square feet. And that's based on the Building Code Act for Ontario, 1992, Chapter 23, Definitions 1, Bracket 1, and Building Permits 8-1. So we have a link in the description below about that. So essentially, our 2018 Bunkie model, by that definition, does not need that because the footprint is less than 108 square feet. However, residents are going to need to check with their local zoning bylaw regulations as they're different depending on where you live. So this is a quick but relatively easy phone call to your planning department. To help with the process, we actually included a few websites for some of the municipalities we've installed in before. For one, Sarnia. Projects do not require a building permit that are less than 110 square feet. Link below about how to get there. Check with the Sarnia Planning Department as to where to put it on your property, and we'll provide the number. That is going to depend on how big your lot is, and there's a thing called setbacks, meaning you can't put your bunkie right next to your adjacent property like your neighbor. So you might need to have it set back from your property line. In Hamilton, projects that do not require a building permit, building a shed, a garage, a gazebo that's not attached to your house and is less than 108 square feet. Check with the Hamilton Planning Department permit specialist as to where you can put it on your property. Number below. In Hamilton, it says that accessory buildings can't be used as habitable space, but they are okay for storage, tools, gardening supplies, etc. The definition, of course, is a little bit ambiguous. Habitable space, what does that mean? Does that mean, can you sleep in your shed? Is that allowed? And another problem with a lot of this is that the definition of shed versus bunkie is very subjective. So one man's bunkie is another man's shed. That's just something to think about. When you call in, I wouldn't call it a tiny home. That will definitely perk up the government regulators' ears. But if you say I'm building a shed, which is the exact same thing structurally, other than the fact that our bunkies are super nice and not feeling like a shed. But niceness is not something you can define. So in Erin, it's the same rules. 108 square feet, you don't need a permit. That's where I live. And I just called my municipality, talked directly to the assistant to the building department, and just recorded the call, and that helps out. So that's generally the Ontario rules: 108 square feet or less, no permit needed. But like I said, check with your local bylaw officers just to be sure you're complying with all setback requirements and that you're defining it the way they want you to define it. The shed usually is fine. Place where my teenagers were going to be living full time, not as fine.